What is going on? I'm ZEDMOT. We are going to jump over into the shop. Greatly appreciate all of you that throw code ZEDMOT in every Supercell source. Now, we are not going to be starting with Warships. From a views standpoint, this season of Warships has been the worst in a long, long time. Not sure if fewer people are playing or what's going on, but I am sitting in rank 20. We'll cover that in a second. But for now, we are going to zoom in on these landing crafts. These engineer dudes are not super great, but I have found a couple ways to use them, so that is where we're going to start. And spoiler alert, that 3 times button is super, super handy. Now, I have been working diligently at getting Captain Ruddio upgraded to level 10. For those of you who are headquarters level 24 and above who weren't aware that Ruddio was available, he comes in at headquarters level 24. There's no notification that says new hero. There's no beacon. It's a little bit puzzling. So if you didn't know, now you know, as someone famously once said in a hip hop song. So if you need a guide to get Ruddio, do let me know. Otherwise, I am focusing on his bombing run because it's halfway decent and it's better in Warships, definitely, but with a boost, maybe it'll be great. So what I'm doing at the second is sending all of my engineers over to this side, and you probably want to mix engineers with something else, unless you want to troll your opponents, that is. And these guys walk very slowly, very slowly. So you want to leave a little gap at the end there so you've got somewhere to drop Ruddio, because of course he flies much quicker than these guys walk, and then we're going to drop him. And I love using smoke, I love using side flares, and I just find that you get way, way, way better results if you do. And if you want to troll some bases using these guys, you probably want to use some smoke and go from the back, and we're going to throw some barrages towards those buildings because lasers and our good friend, the critter engineers, do not go terribly well. So that's a good prototype to choose right now, assuming that people are actually going to use critter engineers, which is pretty unlikely. And one good thing these guys do is just absolutely inundate your opponents with critters. Now, you're finding, if you're seeing those bunkers, I've gotten to the point where I just assume bunkers are empty. This one is actually not empty, which is a bit of a surprise. The bunkers do cost a bunch of gold. I had a couple comments recently, people saying their residences were not giving the right amount of gold, and it was because they had the bunkers full. So do to be aware that bunkers cost some gold, and this is where Bombing Run comes in handy. Now, you can do some sneaky tricks to keep Ruddio alive when you're doing Bombing Run, but simply having those critters out front does a pretty good job. You can also throw a smoke about here, and that way when he goes into his Bombing Run, he kind of hides a little bit, assuming that you throw the smoke in the right direction. But overall, just getting some critters out, that way when he runs across, he doesn't get hit too many times. And if I actually upgraded his bombing run, he'd be doing a little bit more damage. But as you see here, I do have a bunch of offensive statues. I don't have any of these green things on my base, and we managed to take down a base using just Ruddio and our good friends, the critter engineers. So that is one way that I've been using them. Basically, they just do a decent job of keeping him alive, if that makes a little bit of sense. And these kind of bases where nothing, you can just walk across the shore, this is the kind of base that I do not recommend. I've got a video out there on how to build a base, and one of the primary points is never let your opponents drop their troops for free, because it just makes it super, super, super simple. And as soon as that cannon turns, we're going to drop a smoke and then get these guys a couple smokes deep, and then we're going to drop Ruddio, and that should get him going, and then we're just going to keep the smokes out front, and don't want to go too far, and If you saw that Doom Cannon throw a shot, you might have been a little bit nervous. It's just the fact that his wingmen do pop out of smoke a little bit. So not a giant concern, but it can be a little bit unnerving. You can get a little bit of extra oomph out of those wingmen as they fly by, but we're just going to throw some barrages on these defenses as Ruddio and the gang pop out. Should have probably barraged them before dropping our troops, but what's the fun in that when we can just have everything come flying out at once? Look how tight those guys pack down. That is one of the good things about them, is they pack down crazy compact. You get basically, what is that, like 8 times 3, so we're looking at 24 of them sitting in the spot where 4 of them would occupy. So pretty darn great. Please tell me I did the math right on that. I'm always a little bit uncomfortable. Sorry, 30. Did I say 24? I meant this. Anyways, you get the basic idea. And now this is where his bombing run comes in a little bit handy. Definitely could angle him a little bit better as far as trying to get rid of that boom cannon. And we could follow those wires coming off of the headquarters to make gosh darn sure that we can find wherever that shield generator is back there somewhere. There we go. We found it. So our critter dudes have found the shield generator, and we probably don't have enough oomph on our critters to take down the shield gen on our own. So we're going to get a little bit of bonus from them. Hopefully we get enough GBE to actually take that down, and it looks like we are not. So I probably wasted a little bit of GBE on the bombing run, and now a failure might just be in the cards here, but we're going to hold out hope that somehow our critters can get enough GBE for something. Like that boom cannon and that mortar right there are starting to get a little bit low, and this is where that 3 times mode is super helpful. I should have used that way sooner, and now it's going to be down to the last final seconds, and down goes a base with a shield gen and a couple ice statues. So these critter engineers are not the best prototype. I believe that prototypes need to be overpowered. They need to be exciting. They're only here for a week, and those critter engineers are definitely not on that list of things you look forward to. Look forward to mocking, perhaps, but if you can pull off an operation solo at the dead end level or higher with these guys, I would love to see it. Yes, it does cause a little bit of strife with your task force, but those of you who are chilling in 50-member task forces, one of the great things about 50-member task forces is that you get to try some fun, ridiculous things. And speaking of fun, ridiculous things, do make sure you have boosted up your tribes. There are 3 halfway decent tribes. Tank Life Leech was fun for the Mega Crab, and then Bombardier Speed also just super fun. And Gunboat Energy Gain is ridiculous. I did a Maze core hit yesterday, and I had over 400 GBE, so lots of opportunities there. And speaking of opportunities, let's get an operation going so that we can have a little bit of fun. It's Friday. We're doing all of the boom. I know Boom Beach Warships has become a major factor on YouTube, and also a couple of you said, ZEDMOT, why are you using so many chickens in your thumbnails? Maybe because the season is called Can Chickens Fly? That seemed fairly logical to me, but some of you did not connect the dots, so I figured I would point that out. Anyways, we are going to look at the operation bases. Centaur, if you have not soloed Centaur using Rocket Chop as you need to, one of the things you need to be aware of is you probably need to deal with those shields unless you've maxed out your rocket choppas, though, because rocket launchers will be a bit of a pain. I'll leave that to someone else because my rocket choppas on this account are only level 1. Did I scroll past them? Yes. So one of the downsides of having a couple accounts is that keeping up with your armory and unlocking Ruddio and your Sculptor just doesn't go terribly well. And we have got some Cycle of Evil updates with that Dr. T over there and that Dr. T over there, but Imitation Game still the same thing, unfortunately. Hoping that that gets a revamp soon. I love doing High Five. So we are going to do high 5. This one is a little bit easier than normal in some ways. No shock launcher there. Doom cannon here makes it a little bit more difficult at shore. And then no rocket launchers on this side makes this a little bit easier. Should be able to solo this. Should is the point. These are the kind of bases that I love because using Everspark with that Houdini hack, if you've never seen the Houdini hack, I'll try and show it to you. So what we are going to do here is throw one artillery back here to clear these 3 mines, making sure not to hit the boom cannon. We don't want to deal with that boom cannon being damaged. And then throwing one more back here because we do want the shock launcher to be damaged. If you've never figured out how targeting works in Boom Beach, Everspark and Zukas and some other troops target the most damaged defense in range first. So that shock launcher will be what Everspark goes after. We are going to start walking our troops. These lines on shore, very, very, very well known at this point, so I should be able to walk all of my troops without having to worry too much about them getting wrecked by that Doom Cannon or that shock launcher. And then as they get into position, we're just going to walk them up this way. I need to be a little bit careful by those flamethrowers. And then once we get out of range of the flamethrowers, we can gap our smokes a little bit. And Everspark went way further right than I did expect. And then we can just click her button right about there. And then need to leave a little bit of space for her to pop out there. And she, of course, hit the shock mine. So I have already botched this attack. We are in the world of pain. I thought for gosh darn certain that she was going to hit not the shock mine, and so now we just need to get our troops underneath that smoke, and then we're going to get moving because we need to get all the way to the back because now that that shock launcher's gone, we look like we might have salvaged this, maybe. We're going to get a shock about there, and then we're going to get an artillery on that shock launcher because we need the shock launcher to go down fairly soon here. Otherwise, we're going to lose all of these troops, and now it looks like we're in a decent straits. I can't believe we managed to salvage that, to be completely honest. That shock mine should have absolutely ruined this entire attack, but we still have a bit of a chance. Now, we don't have 3 times mode, unfortunately. I would love 3 times mode on operation attacks. But instead, we're just going to have to hang out here for a little bit. We're going to get backwards a little bit just to try to avoid that final mine. And then we're going to have to keep one more flare just as my game absolutely lags. I don't know about you guys, but my game has been lagging randomly. Like it's not it's at the beginning of attack, it's not at the end of an attack, it just randomly starts lagging, and it's ridiculously frustrating because I hope you guys could see just how bad that was lagging. I am running iOS beta build, so that might be the cause, but it's definitely happening more often than it should be. So let me know if you're seeing problems with that because it's super, super frustrating. Now, we're going to have to sit here for a minute, and we might not get it down. It's going to be very close because we just lost too many Zukas with that shock mine kerfuffle. It is moving though. We're making some progress. That blue line is moving. A quick note that a bunch of you did notice, when you're using life leech troops, shooting a shield does not heal your troops. That is new. It is a nerf on life leech. It kind of makes sense because you're not actually shooting a building, but it is new and it is different and it is intended. And I think we're going to fizzle on this. Is it considered a fizzle when you fail on an operation attack? This is going to be super, super close. Our last PvP hit was super, super close, and this looks like it's going to be an absolute and utter failure, but we're going to get it down to 8, 7, 6, 5. Oh man, this is going to be the slimmest of slim fails, but thankfully someone can just drop their troops on that right hand side and clear those cells and barrage the core. So we're just going to put down a clear right Bart core, and that way not cord. It's not a cord. It is a core. And so a little bit of a failure. Definitely did not get to show you the Houdini hack I was looking to do, but hopefully that targeting detail does help you a little bit. It makes high five super, super fun. That is probably, between that and a rogue middle walk solo, those are the two Houdini hacks that I love doing most of all. And things that I do not love most of all is this part of Warships. This part of Warships, before you get rocket choppas, is so painful. And I assume that's why the views are down this season. Everything before here is super frustrating. Everything is slow, and these decks are beyond slow. Not enjoyable, but I promise once rocket choppas come out, things get better. So stick with it. This one has been winning and losing in and out of gold, but I've managed to claim in gold for the most part. I just got enough keys to go 5 engine rooms, as you can see there, and that is exactly what I'm going to do now. You do want to go 5 before rocket launchers, before shock launchers, because it makes everyone have to walk all the way around, and that adds a good at least 10 seconds. So that is what we're going to do right now. I'm just going to drop these defenses, and then we'll come back with... Okay, we're going to come back with the base built, and this base, I got lazy and copied a base, and then I realized I don't have boom cannons, so in the order of operations, you definitely want to go get rocket choppas, and then come back and get boom cannons. I went on my account that's in 20, I went to rocket choppas, and then back to boom cannons, and then back to building health, which is the tech tree that I laid out on day 1 of the season. This is my alt, which is doing halfway decent. I'll show you how I'm attacking 4 engine room bases. It is not pretty. There are some like 2-minute 1-second times aren't bad. Let's show you a 2-minute 1-second time, and it's just a matter of getting your troops going. Notice that I've got almost all of my Zukas out. I've got Zukas in front of that flamethrower. That way that flamethrower does not get our rifles. Rifles on the left-hand side. This way the flamethrower is gone before our rifles get there. And then we've got some troops walking up that left side, hitting that shock mine, letting a couple rifles die just to get our Zukas a bit closer. That way you don't have to use 2 shocks to get rid of that hot pot. And then dropping some more rifles back there, med kits to get through some green mines, and just using critters to clear mines wherever possible, and just walking through a couple shocks here and there. And again, critters to clear mines. And clearing mines with critters is super helpful this season. That way you can just walk through a bunch of defenses and go somewhat quick, not super quick. And this long walk around the horn is going to be a pain. And if you have rifles and Zukas maxed, you don't need to put anything into bombardiers or into mechs. Bombardiers can be a little bit quick, but they can also be a little bit slow and frustrating. So here is exactly what we were talking about with that. So we're going to send our Zukas out first. That is going to be clutch. And then we're going to get some rifles out and our good friend Kavan. Because, of course, rifles do walk a little bit faster, and so what we can do is just go something like this, and I dropped those critters ever so too far towards that right-hand side, and now we're going to get rid of that hot pot with 1 shock, which is very important. And again, just clearing mines, and I tend to throw my critters a little bit early. Should be using those to help my troops a little bit, but I am just a little bit on the lazy side. And now we're going to throw a med kit just to try to keep some of those rifles alive, and did a halfway decent job of it. Gonna drop our critters one more time, trying to get, look at that, we got it on both sides of that sniper tower, which is fairly gosh darn important. And now don't need to use any sort of critters or shocks, just need to get the occasional med kit right about there, because flamethrowers will try to wreck things. And I like to use one of our Good friends, second wind, don't generally need more than 1 or 2, just trying to keep GBE going. And you'll notice that we do have a couple rifles that are slightly faster than the rest, and those really, really do help when it comes to clearing mines. And now we're going to try to get a halfway decent shock, which we did successfully. And now, you guessed it, medkits all day, every day, as our troops start to get closer towards those green mines. So medkits and critters and shocks and second winds, keeping and also just sneaking our troops in one by one. You definitely don't want to sneak or send all your rifles at once. You will have a very, very bad time. And in this case, you can actually get super better results if you pay attention to which engine room is where. I am terrible at this. But if you pay attention to which engine room is where, you can see when your opponents are using critters to speed up their attacks to get that tail engine room, and I am going to lose, which was very, very much expected, let's be honest here, and if we happen to win, I'll be amazed, but very, very unlikely at this point. So 126 is not going to be fast enough. That is my first attack in 5 engine rooms, so it is going to be slow. And sure enough, our opponent got a 141. So let's just see what they're doing. I assume they've got some bombardiers. Like, oh, and by the way, mixing 1 boat of mechs in instead of 1 boat of rifles can do decently. As you saw there, that mech does shock the hot pot. I have stopped doing it of late, but might need to consider getting them back in there. And from a token standpoint, like I said, if you've got max riflemen and max Zukas, you probably don't want to max your bombardiers because you will be maxing your rocket choppas very likely. And then you've also got tokens to get your rocket launchers up, your shock launchers up. You're going to be token poor soon if you're not yet. So yes, I'm sitting here with 1.9 million tokens, but getting those bombardiers, not super important. What is important, though, is getting that gunboat up because we are starting to get some GBE nodes, and there's nothing worse than spending tokens on your GBE nodes when your gunboat is not maxed because you're getting 10% of nothing. And one of the side benefits of 90% off troops, which, by the way, we have 90% off Zukas and tanks right now, and I did not mean to click on tanks, but at least I get to show you those 90% off Zukas, is that if you're running Zukas in Warships, you do get 90% off there, which is going to save you a bunch of diamonds if you do not have instant training. Now, what we are going to do right here is I am going to jump in and attack Trinity. This is Duplexity, the hardest operation that does exist. So if you have never seen these bases before, do let me know. There's a lot of fun things in here. I will be doing an unboosted Duplexity attack, which is not super duper smart, but we're going to give it our best possible go. And one thing we need to be aware of is that grappler is going to grab brick if possible. The reason why I wanted to do this operation attack is because I talked about those lines on shore, and notice this is a completely different base on a completely different level, and it's the exact same lines on shore. Too many people are not aware of that, so definitely do pay a little bit of attention to those lines on shore. You will get great results if you do pay attention to it. And now we're going to try to get our troops walking. We're going to drop brick a little bit late because that way brick will hopefully stay alive. And now we're going to skip that last smoke because we want to get all of our troops out there and blasting. And if we did not skip that last smoke, we were going to keep losing some troops. So sometimes you want to use that smoke, sometimes you want to skip it, and we are just going to keep shocking all of this stuff so that we can keep as many troops as we possibly can. I'm going to throw some critters back there because if we get too many critters on that core, that laser beam is going to wreck us, and hopefully that grappler turns a little bit. That's going to save a couple of our troops for a couple seconds, and we are going to do bunches of damage to this core. Should we have been boosted for this hit? probably. But at this point, we are still sitting here doing bunches of damage, and this core, if I don't take it down, will very, very much go down on the next attack. And this operation was never in doubt. This task force is Boggers United. I know it's Boggers. I'm not sure what the rest of it. I will double check that towards the end. And this is just one more occurrence where I really, really do wish we had 3 times mode on operations. But thankfully, I have a nice little way to pause, which is going to let us skip some of those seconds as our Zukas are dying one by one. CMOs definitely add up over time. You can see that 3 of them are not ranging our troops, but that one is just absolutely decimating our Zukas one at a time. And just like that, we have taken the core health down from somewhere in the neighborhood of, I think it was like 15 million down to 6 million. So now we can change that note from 2 down to 1, and we have completed our task. 31 attacks left, 1 for Titan. Let's be honest, maybe 2, 1 or 2 more for Humble Pie. Like, this task force is full of absolute beasts and sitting anywhere between number 1 and number 10 global. So I can't let you in. I'm just a guest here, but big fans of them for letting me hang around, even with my unboosted, terrible intel numbers. Okay, into Warships we go, or back to Warships, I should say, we go. This account was in like 35th global or something like that. You can tell that I have slid down a little tiny bit. My max, I was up at 20.44. Thought maybe I could reach Diamond yesterday, and then just started to get smacked a little bit. So definitely, I think I lost to Stoneheart and Cactus and Second Tau and possibly Kling Klong yesterday. Them being up in Diamond, one of the things that I am struggling with right now is that I would really love to have critters to keep my rocket choppas alive, but I'm not willing to pay that Kavan tax. So I am saving. We are going to go forwards through that building damage, get some extra GBE, which I need to get that upgraded. I am sitting here with only 20% GBE at the second, so definitely gonna spend my tokens right there. And then just going forwards, gonna show you Zendo. Shout out to Mr. Zendo. Exact same percentages, exact same time, but he retreated sooner. So wish I would have been able to bump him up into 20, but it did not happen. Wanted to show you how Alpha Shark is attacking. I know a bunch of you are thinking there's basically 3 metas. There's Rocket Choppas, there's Rifle Zuka, and there's Rifle Bombardier. Well, there's one more, and this is what makes me smile more than anything else this season. I love that a couple players have made a different meta. Look at this. Kavan, Medic, with some warriors. Like how, and there's my lag again. You see that? I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but just beyond laggy. And now for 2 times mode. Come on, phone, recover. Clearing some things with the critters and the artillery, and they had 1 warrior go backwards. And look at this, just absolutely ridiculous. Just free clearing with warriors and Kavan. And second win, bringing back lots and lots of pink warrior dudes, and then just walking through the bases. I have not recall a time where I saw warriors used with medics. With Kavan, you definitely see it from time to time, but I really love the fact that, I hate losing, obviously, but one of the things that I love is the fact that this is a different meta, that he has completely and utterly flipped the script on the season. So getting the shock out there on that microwaver and then finishing the base. What my problem was yesterday, well, one of my problems was yesterday, is that what was happening was I was ranking against 17s all the way up against 20s, against 23s. I don't have any of the, oh, there we go. And what was happening was it was taking a long time for matches to start. So I would put my phone down, and then when a match started, I would look down, but I wasn't sure what rank I was facing against. And by the way, every time I beat so easy, if your name is going to be so easy, you'd better win, because when you lose, it doesn't look super. I like the name, but I also love beating that account a little bit more than many others. So I'll show you what I'm doing. And things get a little bit difficult because people have started to move their engine rooms over to that side. So you got to be a little bit smart. And this is where, if you have Kavan, you just drop him and he does some good stuff. But 2 boats of bombardiers on that left-hand side with 1 boat of rifles. The reason why I'm using 2 boats of bombardiers is because I want to get this engine room and that engine room down. If you only need to get this one down, you only use 1. I made this up. Many other people are doing something similar. I did it without seeing anyone doing it, so maybe other people made it up first. I don't know. I'm taking claim, though, because I am really, really enjoying dropping a couple troops, getting that left-hand side moving, and you'll see that there's a bunch of mines on that left-hand side starting now, so I'm sure everyone else figured it out at about the same time, but getting bombardiers on that left-hand side is super, super clutch, because that way you don't have to come all the way back nearly as much. And just trying to get the shock out and missing. Should have been able to shock both of those fairly easily, but now Bombardier's working up that left-hand side. So this attack by me was not super great, but on the plus side, didn't have to worry about sending my rocket choppas up to that top engine room, because our Bombardiers are going to do a whole bunch of damage. So that cannon is going to kill some of our rocket choppas, but we don't care because Bombardiers are doing most of the damage. So when you do get rocket choppas, I said you don't need to max your Bombardiers, but sending some damage into those Bombardiers, not a bad idea at all. We'll do 1 live hit. Not a good idea, because I'm almost certainly going to lose here, because every time I do these videos with you, and I haven't warmed myself up, got my mind wrapped around it, I lose, and a lot of you probably think I'm a terrible noob, but I promise, halfway decent player. I should definitely do some pre-attacking, but then I couldn't bring you all of the boom, and not bringing you all of the boom would mean that I'd have to shorten these videos up, and you guys have let me know that Friday long videos are super, super handy, whether it's to get through your workday or to spend some time on the weekend. And I told you, those mines on that left-hand side were going to be a problem, and look at that, they definitely are. So what we're going to do, as you can see here, I've got 2 boats of rifles. That is how I've been combating this. And this person's boom cannon, I should be able, let's just go 4. I should be able to shock the boom cannon and the regular cannon at once. If I miss, then it's a waste of GBE, but I don't usually miss. We're going to drop this stuff here. All of those rifles on that left-hand side will do us a bunch of good. The Bombardiers will also do us a bunch of good. And this is where that flare comes in super, super handy. So what we're going to do is we are going to flare to there. And then as our troops get close, we're going to try to shock and we're going to miss, but I managed to salvage it. That miss is going to cost me in a giant way. The fact is, we just wasted a shock, which is not great. We're going to drop a med kit back there to try and keep some of those rifle dudes alive. And now we are in problems. We are in dire straits, as a very famous band once said. Did they actually say that, or they just did it? Regardless, we are going to be in tough sledding back here as we're about to, oh man, managed to avoid that back there, but of course all our Bombardiers are dead, so now we are in problem land. We're going to throw a shock here, trying to get rid of that right there, losing a Zuka in the process, but I really, really, really don't want to fizzle, so we're just going to back off and try to save some GBE, and this is going to be ugly. They have already beat us, and now I told you I was going to make some mistakes, and that shock on that boom cannon and that cannon is one that I've gotten like over and over and over again, but today just making all of the mistakes. So we're just going to head back into this neighborhood, and then we will move forwards in a second towards that cannon right about there, and don't have any GBE to keep our troops alive, and that's why we just threw our troops towards that cannon. And now we're just going to move over into this neighborhood in the blind spot of that rocket launcher, losing even more rocket choppas. And if you're wondering why I haven't retreated yet, it's because I desperately need these engine rooms, and this is just an absolute flop a Rooney. So if that rocket chopper does not get rid of that rocket launcher, we are going to just lose even more, and it looks like we are. So just need to get one more engine room, and then I will do a retreat as soon as I can move back into this neighborhood. Just gross. Not great by me, but we are going to get one more engine room. And so you can fizzle with rocket choppers, especially when you end up wasting GBE by missing what should be a fairly easy shock. I swear to you, I hit that shock like 95% of the time yesterday. And now as we get this final engine room, we are going to lose in a big way. Might be able to get that back engine room if we were super careful, but I don't want to waste our opponent's time, so we're just going to do the old pull-out maneuver, retreating and putting the tail between our legs. So yes, there are some good hits to be done, but yes, they also do require some timing and some patience and a little bit of skill and luck. So that right there is Mr. Stoneheart, I do believe. Let's just see what he's doing. Yep, so paying the Kavan tax, and I might, like 90% of the people in Diamond right now have Kavan and critters, and you probably want to go get Kavan and critters, but I am going to be very stubborn and just stay away. And you can see there that just critters just absolutely decimating everything on that right hand side. So would critters have made my hit easier? Oh gosh, yes, but I just don't want to pay for Kavan. That might be very much me being stubborn, but I'm okay with that. And I think it'll pay off in the longer term. So just to force myself, I am going to go get that, which is going to force me to go forwards. And we're not going to throw any tokens towards building damage. We're going to be saving for some GBE. And then we are going to get probably an extra shock launcher, I think, and into that next engine room level. So anyways, that is my video on the day. We covered a lot of topics. You know what? Let's do one more operation attack. I'm slowly realizing that I had 2 failed warships attacks. I had 2 failed operation attacks and 1 halfway decent attack with engineers. So this is definitely not a highlight reel under any circumstances, but hopefully you find it entertaining. So we're going to go like that. We're going to get some troops out, and I am going to attack Callisto just for a little bit of a gimme. So in case you were not aware, this is a different layout, different lines on shore. Troops on this one do walk below that ocean, so we need to be a little bit careful with these rocket launchers. We can clear a bunch of mines over, or cells over here, I should say. But we're not going to do what we typically do and send all sorts of Zukas back in with those boom cannons, because of course there's no cells back there. So we will pick up some of these cells, and then we'll pull out yet again and get our troops walking. And notice that we're only getting 3 GBE per cell because I did not boost the tribes on this one. Should I have? Almost certainly. That one Zuka is going to walk the wrong way, which is going to be okay because we should be able to pull out before it becomes an issue. And now, as we get rid of that power cell, we're going to get our troops walking down to here. We're going to throw a barrage back there. And then as our troops walk sideways across to about there, we're going to, and why we use an extra flare is because that way they get crazy low. We want them to limbo as far underwater as humanly possible, which is going to allow us to save a smoke at shore. Look how low they are there. And then we're going to throw one more artillery about there, and that should, you know what, we're going to throw one more back here just to make sure that as we get in, no! Oh gosh. So we have utterly and completely botched it, but we might be able to salvage it. There is still the slimmest of slim chances that we can salvage this. Just absolutely making all of the mistakes. I knew I had to throw a smoke down there, and then I forgot because I went back for that extra artillery, which I never ever do. Definitely on the mistake side of things at the second, and then as that appears, we're going to go 1 and 2. And then as Bullet gets out front, we're going to shock him there. And we have managed to shock every single one of our Zukas. So this is going to require that we get back here. And this is just absolutely awfulness. So we're going to throw Bullet down into that neighborhood. And we're just going to, you know what, let's send him down there just to get even more separation. And then we'll throw that shock there, and we'll throw some critters back there, and just absolutely terrible. There are days that things go well, and then there are days like this. So definitely not feeling it today. But hopefully our Zukas are going to be hidden in that little tiny hidey hole behind that mortar. So we are not done yet, but let's be honest, it's basically done. So Bullet is standing out front. He is taking some shots here, but there's no way he's going to survive because without that taunt, we have got this is a red letter day, folks. Very, very rarely are there two sad trombones in one video, but we're leaving it in. Mistakes have been made. It is Friday. In my defense, I was up all night. My son was up puking all night, like not just part of the night, but all night. And when your kids are puking and they're small, it's not so bad. But when you've got a almost man-sized 13-year-old puking, it is a lot to handle. So that was my night. This is my video on the day. Code ZEDMOT in all sources. Thank you for coming in. Ugly. But hopefully there were some tidbits there that made you smile, made you laugh, made you cringe, and maybe you learned something. Let me know in the comments what is going on with Warships this season, where you're at, and how you doing. I'll talk to you soon. I'm ZEDMOT. Thanks for coming in. Peace.